Essentially, the Kia Soul is a funny shaped hatchback. Don't let anyone try and convince you that it's a small SUV or a crossover. It's basically the same size as a VW Golf or a Hyundai Kona. It's just a bit more boxy looking. Do I like the shape? I will say though, there is one positive about being the same shape as a Postman Pat van. The nice tall roof means you can spot it from anywhere in a busy car park. There's space for 5 people, although the middle seat in the back isn't exactly huge. The boot is a decent size. It's a bit bigger than a Ford Fiesta, but not quite as big as a Ford Focus. The translation of that? Great for small dogs, even small children. Not so good if you're going to try and cram a Great Dane in here. He is not going to be your best friend. Oh, and that wasn't an official recommendation to put small children in the back. That's only if they've been really naughty and won't stop watching Peppa Pig.
Now, originally it came with petrol or diesel engines in the front, but the ones we're interested in are the electric versions that have been around since 2014, called the Kia Soul EV. Yep, Kia were really leading the charge with electric cars, along with Nissan and Renault back in the day. So that means there are a few second-hand Souls knocking about.
But the earlier versions were very different to this 2021 model that I have here. So it's really important to know what you need when you're looking for an old Soul.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. There are 3 versions of the Kia Soul out in the wild in the UK. The original 2014 Soul EV that had a small 27 kilowatt hour battery and a range of around 124 miles. The revised version that came out in 2018 with a very slightly bigger battery and a bit more range at 155 miles. And later, cars like this one, they got a major upgrade to a 64 kilowatt hour battery and a whopping 280 plus miles of range. Whew, talk about a step up.
Now, the 2 earlier cars are really quite similar, so it's important to check what battery they have. The most recent version, however, is really easy to spot because it's had a complete glow up. First of all, you can notice those squinty front lights. It also has a hoop light at the rear and the interior. It's really quite plush in here in comparison. Oh, and it comes with a nice hefty price tag. But don't worry, there are second-hand ones available, so there are options for you.
Well, apart from having much smaller batteries and therefore much less range than the newest Soul EV, older Souls have a CHAdeMO charging port in the nose.
Now, the earlier versions of the Soul come with less power. So they're swift but not fast, so they're great for running around town. There is still plenty of acceleration up to about 50 miles an hour and then it starts to tail off. But don't worry, you can still hit speeds of 70 miles an hour when you're on the motorway. Now, the Kia Soul EV of 2014 actually came pretty well equipped. There was only one grade available at the time, so no real options to choose from. It had an upgraded dash compared to the internal combustion engine. It also had things like an 8-inch touchscreen. There was dual zone air conditioning. It had a heated steering wheel and heated seats. There was a reverse camera and keyless entry. Now that is not bad for 7 years ago. Now, in the same vein as gadgets galore, the new Soul EV comes really well equipped. We've actually done a full review on electrifying.com of the new Soul, so do check it out for more. But to summarise, this has a bigger battery, more performance, longer range, it's more convenient to use. This actually features the 64 kilowatt hour battery, which you can also find in the hugely popular Kia e-Niro and Hyundai Kona, and it is just brilliant. So to live with, a Soul really is just like any other hatchback. It pretty much covers most of the things most of the time, which is always handy. Looking at the interior, quick summary, they're fine. They're pretty basic. They're quite traditional in design. There's nothing sort of too spectacular about it, but actually I quite like that. There's no unnecessary flashy bits that you don't really need. Does that make it boring? No, I don't think it actually does. You know, it's an area of the car that your grandmother will not feel intimidated by, but there are also a few extra bits of detailing which I quite like too, like for example on the side panel on the door here. But yeah, overall, no, I think the interior, they've done a good job. Now, the later, more powerful ones, actually like this one, are really quite good fun to drive. You know, surprisingly fast and capable, nice and nippy away from the lights. The older ones, obviously given the battery size, they do have less power, so of course they are rather more sedate to drive, but they do still have that instant traffic light punch that most electric cars have, so they're still pretty fun to drive. But better than that, and this is quite an important point, even the older Souls charge up really quickly on the public rapid chargers. You can actually see it charge from 10 to 80% in just 20 minutes. Yes, that is quicker than an episode of EastEnders. So although the more mature cars do carry a smaller battery, it means it's quick to charge. Honestly, Souls, like most electric cars, are actually very reliable. The older ones came with a 5-year transferable warranty, and the newer ones have 7 years and various other guarantees. So it's worth checking out the service history and making sure that it has been properly serviced. Yes, electric cars still need servicing. They just don't need it quite as much. Now, it is worth noting that the very early cars might have actually suffered a little bit of battery degradation. What that really means is that the battery over a period of time can't hold the same amount of charge that it originally did when it was new. So you might only get 60, 70 miles of real world range in those very early cars. But don't let that put you off. Remember, if you do just want a car to run around town in, then it still could be enough for your everyday usage. The only problems, of course, with the new ones is that they're so good, everyone wants them, so they are not cheap. If you do want to save money, you can buy the older version, but it is a very different proposition. It looks similar, it feels similar, but it has a much smaller range, so you have to look at your lifestyle and check if that car and that range will suit you. Is it going to be enough that you can do your daily commute? And do remember, when you are looking at the range, of course, check whether you're doing local driving or if you're doing motorway driving, because motorway driving really does eat into that range. Now, it is also worth checking out the alternatives too, of course, things like the Renault Zoe, Nissan Leaf, or even the VW e-Golf. But I can assure you, if you do find a good Soul, you're going to be happy. Now, if money is no object, life would be wonderful. But no, seriously, if you are up for spending a little bit more money, then a lightly used new shape Kia Soul like this one is a brilliant little electric car. It's got a massive range, it's really well equipped, and it just looks that little bit different. Okay, they haven't got the most up-to-date interior design, but all Souls are user-friendly and good to drive. The problem with the new ones is that they're so good, they also aren't cheap. A cheaper, older Soul with a smaller battery isn't quite the same proposition. It's still got the looks and most of the feel of the new one, but with less than half the battery and range. Now, that might be a red flag to you, but not necessarily if it fits with your lifestyle. And remember, the payoff is buying something for half the price of a nearly new car. You really just have to work out what's best for you. Could you make it work? If you just need a commuter car for driving to work, it might just work.